Okay, we're going to repot some orchids, and here is something that is worth its weight in gold. I don't know if it's coming out in the sunshine. Let's go in here. This is Osmunda fiber. Impossible to find, no longer harvested, and this is from a huge box of Osmunda that I purchased, oh my goodness, 25-30 years ago. Stuff lasts forever. You break it apart underwater, mix it with a little sphagnum. This stuff is very, very good for drainage, and it may dry too quickly. A little bit of sphagnum mixed in, let's say 2/3 Osmunda and 1/3 sphagnum, mixed well. You got to put it in water because the dust is just like, forget about it. And that's the best orchid growing medium there is for a potted orchid. And here is my hoard of Osmunda. See this big tall box? That was filled at one point. And I'm down to about, I don't know, maybe there's a third left. All of that beautiful Osmunda. You can see how the stuff was harvested, how it was cut, the cut marks. No more. And years ago I bought these Osmunda fiber mounts, orchid mounts, you know, compressed tree fern. So that's it, the best potting medium in the world for orchids. Try and find it. Okay, I'm going to repot this guy. This is your typical I guess Home Depot. Who knows where I got this thing? I think it's a type of Cattleya. I'm not even sure. Anyway, that's what it looks like with those leaves. Anyway, we're going to get it out of this plastic pot. Here's my my mix of Osmunda and sphagnum moss. Again, about 2/3 of Osmunda and 1/3 sphagnum. The sphagnum is going to leach nutrients because this Osmunda is never ever going to decay, and that'll last 20 years easily. And the sphagnum retains just a little bit of moisture, just so you don't have to water them every 2 days, and leaches a little bit of nutrients in there, so it extends the period that you would have to repot. And of course we're going to use a clay pot which has been soaked in water. The sphagnum and the Osmunda, absolutely be very careful tearing it apart outside, let it go downwind, and then immediately dunk it in the water. Get rid of all that dust. It's horrific with the dust. And so is that sphagnum. Get it wet right away so you don't have a dust issue. All right, I'm going to show you what's inside this pot when I pull this thing out. All right, what you see here is very typical of how these commercial growers pot these things. These ones that pump them out by the millions. You got the styrofoam at the bottom, and of course tree bark, which is not the end of the world, but we want the best for our orchids. There's new growth coming out over there, so we're going to go with the Osmunda in a new pot. All right, so I can't overemphasize when you're doing this how careful you got to be. Here is the orchid after I cleaned off as much as I can without getting crazy. You got to be really careful, and I guess I had too much coffee this morning because I broke off the new growth. Something I'm not even going to show you because it's just totally stupid. And here's my mix of the Osmunda and the sphagnum. I just put more in there. I broke some off that and dunked it in real quick. Let it soak for a couple of 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. The sphagnum is the one that has to really get wet. The Osmunda gets wet almost immediately. All right, now we're going to pack some of that into the bottom of this. Not too tight, just get it in between the roots, massage it in a little bit in the pot, and then we'll have a nice repotted orchid. Okay, so there it is, all potted up, complete with the damage I did to the new growth with who knows how much that'll set it back, probably not all that much. Nice clay pot, very important. Clay tends to breathe, lets the plant dry better, so you don't have any dampness built up in the bottom of the pot. And that's it. Goes back on the shelf, and we'll see what else we got to repot. All right, here's one more. There's another store-bought, probably Home Depot, some variety of Cattleya. So who knows what kind of a hybrid this is. Gonna repot, same thing. Osmunda, right there. Sphagmum, right there. 2/3 Osmunda, 1/3 Sphagmum. Nice clay pot, and that's that. I don't normally collect orchids like this. I usually go towards the rare miniatures, African miniatures and stuff like that. Really rare stuff. That's a little more interesting. But this stuff is always fun. They make beautiful flowers, treated right. They probably need more water than you're giving them. People tend to starve orchids when it comes to water. The minute they're dry, you can water them again. Don't wait like days until the damn thing gets desiccated. They need a lot of water, but not too much. As soon as the roots are dry, that's why this Osmunda is so great. It dries quickly, so you could water them every 3-4 days. And they just love it. Okay. All right, that whole piece of sphagnum, I broke it up. That stuff is tough. I broke it up. It's in there soaking. Added some more, not the sphagnum, the Osmunda. The Osmunda. I broke it up. I put it in here. Added some sphagnum. We're waiting for that. When you see this stuff in there, you can do two things with this. You can either throw it out or hang on to it. This stuff could be useful. You could grow a really small miniature orchid on that. Add some sphagnum and it'll grow. You could cut it up and add it to the mix. You could do whatever. When it comes to Osmunda, you throw nothing, even the dust. I scoop it up and I throw it in here, and it becomes part of the mix. It's the greatest stuff there is. There's nothing better than sphagnum. All right, this soaked enough. Now I'm going to get this guy potted up. Okay, this one's done. Managed to do this one without any catastrophic damage, and she's looking good. And as you're putting this stuff in, it's got a nice springy texture. You do it with your finger all around, eliminate any voids, and you could feel, that when you push down on it, if it goes in really easily, there's a void that you're filling. Without going crazy, you don't want to go ape shit, just nice, because those roots are going to infiltrate this stuff. You will not have to repot this thing for you. If you take care of it properly, don't overwater it, don't underwater it, you will not have to repot this for years. There is nothing to compare with real true blue Osmunda fiber. And we're going to do more, and I'm going to see if I get another piece of fiber. Okay, here's another piece. This is right out of the box. This is exactly the piece I just found in the box, and that's what that box is. Chunks, all different sizes, all different shapes, as these things were hacked out of the damn swamps, or wherever the hell it is that this Osmunda grew. It's supposedly so difficult to harvest that's why they gave up on it. Even when I bought this, that gigantic box was only $40. This piece alone here is probably worth $40. I wouldn't sell it for $400. It's the best stuff there is. And like I says, you ain't getting this stuff anymore unless you find someone like me that's got a small hoard of it willing to sell. All right, we're going to see what else we got to repot. All right, here's another example. This is another little cutie here that I'm repotting. Again, something from, there's new growth on there. Look at that. I gotta make sure I don't break that off like a dummy like the other one. I think a Home Depot job or whatever. And I unpotted it, and I don't have it that long, maybe the most a year. And the potting medium was not only starting to rot, this is all the hairs from rotted roots. I watered this thing this morning and it was still sopping wet. See, that's exactly what you don't want. You need good drainage. And again, nothing like this Osmunda stuff. Or if you can get some New Zealand tree fern, I believe it's called, or whatever the heck. But this stuff is American. Like I said, I bought this stuff 30 years ago, something like that. I got a little smarter this time. I took this piece and I sprayed it with the hose before I start tearing it apart to mitigate the dust. All right, I'm going to mix it up with the sphagnum, which is there on the floor, and we'll get this one potted. All right, here's another example of what I was talking about. Now, this is just exactly as I bought it. Probably, I guess there's one of these big box stores, because I bought quite a few of them, because they're just cute, interesting to grow. See, new growth is coming up there. It's planted in bark. Everything looks hunky-dory. But like the others, when I dump it out, I think that bark is going to be in dire need of needing to be changed. We'll see what condition it's in, the roots, etc., etc. These orchids are interesting because they're kind of hard to kill, and the downslide can take some time, but once you get to a certain point, there's like no turning back. It's kind of like a reptile. They look good, then all of a sudden, zip, and once they start on the real big downslide, it's very hard to recover them. So we're going to see what's inside this guy. Okay, this one was in much, much better condition. This is a small cattleya. I managed so far not to break off the new growth. The roots look pretty good. The medium was not as wet as that other one, because they were both watered this morning, but still it was kind of wet. So it's going to get the royal treatment, repotting in sphagnum and vintage Osmunda fiber. But this is a good, the other one didn't have half the roots this one has. Most of them were rotted. This one is in relatively good shape. We got it just in time. All right, it looks like this is the last one in the collection to get repotted. This is another Home Depot special. After I get all the potting material out, I always use a medium pressure hose out on the lawn to blast out all the remaining vestiges of the previous potting material as best as I can. Not that it's poisonous, but we're going to go straight Osmunda and sphagnum. And another thing about that Osmunda that I may or may not have mentioned already is extremely resistant to any kind of insects. Insects despise the stuff. I've never ever seen any kind of pest. One of the reasons I'm doing all this repotting is because I had a minor infestation of mealybugs, which I nailed just in the nick of time. So that's exactly what I did. I took a Phalaenopsis, got it nice and bare root like this, blasted it with the garden hose, got every crack, nook and cranny, make sure there's no eggs, no mealybugs hiding. And once it goes in the Osmunda, it's such a relatively dry medium, and it does not rot, as I said before. It just does not support insect life that well. They just don't like it. I've never found insects in an orchid growing in Osmunda. And what I was thinking of is those mounting blocks that you could still buy. I'm going to show you 1 second. Let me grab one. Blocks like this. This is a tree fern. It's the next best thing to Osmunda. It's not as good. I think this stuff comes from New Zealand. You could break this stuff, either mount your orchid or break this stuff up and use it as potting material. Yeah, there's the rest of my Osmunda. I still got tons of it. But I do got to stock up on sphagnum. This sphagnum, I have it so long, the stuff says it's from Wisconsin, which I doubt I'm going to be able to get it from Wisconsin, but we'll see what happens. Maybe it's from China, like everything else. So this one is going to get, again, the royal treatment, nice clay pot. This is the broken up Osmunda mixed with some sphagnum, as I said before a few times already. And that's going to be the potting material. Tuck it in nice with your fingers all around once she's in. Make sure you have no voids. And that boat will be good for years and years and years. Yeah, start off with some Osmunda in the bottom of the pot. I'm doing this in the garage because the sun is like, forget about it. It's brutally hot today. The plants would toast. Set this in here like this. It's a nice height, maybe a little bit more. And then you just start tucking the stuff all around. It could be, a little stringy sometimes. You just run it all around and tuck it down in there with your finger, nice and gentle. All right, so it's basically done. Just going to rinse it off and clean it up. There you have it. All well well potted with Osmunda. So yeah, it's good. And you tuck all around with your finger. Make sure it's nice and snug without being crazy tight. And this plant will thrive in this stuff. Let's give it a name. Put it back in there. And there we go. Gonna rinse it off. And that's that. Yeah, I remember going to the Orchid Society meetings years ago. And every meeting almost, the guy would say, oh yeah, this is going 20 to 25 years ago. Oh, Osmunda fiber is supposed to be the best, but it's expensive, it's hard to get. It wasn't that expensive. Like I said, I paid $40 for that whole box. It's the best stuff in the world. I wish I could get more. But what are you going to do? I guess all good things come to an end. Even this stuff, this water, with all this stuff in it, go water a plant with this and all that stuff will filter in and add to the potting mix. Okay, I hope you got something out of this. It was certainly an easy thing to do. And if you can't get Osmunda, try coconut fiber. I haven't tried it. I have it here, but I haven't tried it. I'll show you some. Yep, here's coconut fiber. I never even opened the bag. This is probably 25 years old. They claim it doesn't decay. It's organic, obviously, from coconuts. So maybe we'll try this one day. This might be a semi-decent substitute for the Osmunda. Okay, thanks for looking. All right, this is my little orchid collection. Those are the ones I repotted in the Osmunda. Right here, also some Tillandsia that's hanging there. And here's my miniatures, some of which are, as I said, very rare African orchids, or Peru, Taiwan, all these exotic places, but some of them are just very rare, very rare. This little sub-miniature I have growing in a flask. It's actually mounted to a stick. Don't ask me the name of it right now. It's in there, and I just got the paper towel just to allow some air exchange. It's actually doing quite well. I killed the first one, I think because of lack of humidity, because it is, living quarters. Here it is, there's the dead one. And I got a couple of things that are not orchids. Some beautiful mosses growing in here with these little foliage things. I got a couple of cactus back there. And this is a nice dendrobium, courtesy of Home Depot. Also spoiled it. It is growing in Osmunda. And that's about it. We'll see what else we could do. We're going to mount this on a slab of tree fern. This is a nice, beautiful orchid. I forgot the name of it. It's on there. Yeah, it does better mounted because it has a pendant type of a flower. Okay. Yeah, this window, by the way, I had installed. We had the house, all the windows put in and stucco and all that junk. And I had this window put in. It's one of the best things I ever did. It really is nice. I don't have the best exposure. This is kind of like southeast. It just isn't the best. It's okay. The little guys, they bloom here and there. It's tough to get like a cattleya to bloom because you really don't get bright enough light. But it's good. It's nice. And it's really cool in the winter. But you never want to put a fan on the orchids because it can actually dry them out. All right.